Who is the richest actor working in Hollywood right now? The answer changes depending on which measuring stick you use, but one name keeps showing up at the very top of the ranking. Right behind him sit action legends, comedians, and tequila moguls who turned movie paychecks into empires that dwarf what most stars ever see on a call sheet. So today, we're counting down the 15 richest actors working in Hollywood in 2026. Starting from the bottom of the list and building up to the very top, the richest Hollywood actors of 2026 didn't just get famous, they got paid. And we're starting the countdown with number 15. Sandra Bullock closes out our list at number 15, and her story starts with a bus that couldn't slow down. Back in 1994, she took a supporting role opposite Keanu Reeves in an action thriller about a bomb wired to a Los Angeles bus. She played Annie Porter, a passenger who takes control of a bus rigged to explode if its speed falls below 50 miles per hour. And her chemistry with Reeves helped the film gross roughly $350 million worldwide, turning her into an A-list movie star. The kicker, she reportedly earned only around $500,000 to $600,000 for that role. That underpayment became the origin story for everything that followed. Bullock's asking price shot up almost overnight, and she spent the next 3 decades stacking box office hits. Miss Congeniality, The Blind Side, Gravity, The Heat, while quietly building a second income stream behind the camera. Beyond acting, she became a film producer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, producing titles like The Proposal and All About Steve, and investing in business ventures including a line of skincare products. Real estate did a lot of heavy lifting too. She built a real estate portfolio with properties across the United States, with holdings estimated to be worth over $100 million, making her one of the wealthiest actresses in Hollywood. Add in production credits on shows and movies where she kept a stake in the back end rather than just cashing a paycheck, and the picture becomes clear. Bullock played the long game. By 2026, that long game has landed her at an estimated net worth of $250 million. It's a fortune built less on any single blockbuster payday and more on decades of consistent box office draw, smart production deals, and property. She may not be chasing billion-dollar tequila brands or owning entire studios, but Bullock's arc from an underpaid action heroine to a $250 million Hollywood fixture is exactly the kind of steady compounding that keeps stars on rich lists for 30 years instead of 3. She's proof you don't need one mega deal. You need 40 years of never leaving the conversation. And that consistency is what keeps her locked into this countdown at 15. At number 14 is the guy who wrote his own ticket out of poverty with a boxing script nobody wanted to buy unless he could star in it himself. Sylvester Stallone shot to fame in the 1976 film Rocky after penning the screenplay in just 3 days. And the movie went on to win Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing at the Academy Awards. That single gamble set the template for a career where Stallone refused to just be an actor for hire. From there, he didn't stop at acting. Stallone went on to write, direct, produce, and act in many other hit films, most notably the Rambo franchise. 2 macho generation-defining franchises, Rocky and Rambo, gave him decades of sequels, merchandising, and international box office that kept renewing his relevance every few years instead of letting it fade after one hit. Behind the scenes, Stallone built out the ownership side of the business too. He further boosted his fortune by owning the film production company Balboa Productions with his friend Braden Aftergood, along with the boxing promotion company Tiger Eye Productions. That's the same playbook we've already seen work for other names on this list. Control the company, not just the paycheck. And Stallone didn't retire into irrelevance the way a lot of action stars from his era did. Most recently, he's found success on the small screen by starring in the crime series Tulsa King, proving he can headline a hit outside the movie theater entirely. His action movie versatility even extended to sharing the screen with breakout stars. Movies such as Demolition Man, which featured a breakthrough performance from Sandra Bullock, cemented his reputation as a star capable of range beyond pure muscle. He also picked up praise for what he could do behind the camera. winning recognition for directing the movie Copland in 1997. All of that, the franchises, the production companies, the pivot to TV, the directing credits, has left Stallone with an estimated fortune of $400 million heading into 2026. It's a fortune assembled the hard way, punch by punch, sequel by sequel, across nearly 5 decades in the business, which is exactly why he's still standing on this list at 14. Number 13 belongs to a star whose career has gone through more ups and downs than almost anyone else on this list, and yet keeps climbing back. Mel Gibson built his name as both an actor and a director, and in the last year his profile has jumped again, this time through politics as much as film. He was named alongside Jon Voight and Sylvester Stallone as a special envoy, meant to help bring Hollywood business back to the United States, with Gibson telling Variety that his duty as a citizen is to give any help and insight he can. That renewed spotlight has coincided with a genuine career rebound. Not only is Gibson's career flourishing again, but so is his bank account. It's a reminder that in Hollywood, comebacks are worth real money. Press attention translates into bigger offers, bigger paydays, and bigger deals for whatever he directs or stars in next. Gibson's wealth was never built on one thing. He came up as a leading man in the Mad Max and Lethal Weapon franchises, then reinvented himself as a director capable of Oscar-level work, and later leaned into producing. Each phase added a different revenue stream: acting fees, directing paychecks, and producer credits that paid out long after a film left theaters. That diversification is part of why his fortune has been able to survive years where his public standing took hits. As of 2026, that combination of acting legacy, directing credibility, and a fresh wave of political relevance has Gibson's total fortune estimated at $425 million. It places him just above Stallone on this list, and it underscores something important about how Hollywood wealth actually works. It isn't just about who's winning at the box office this year, it's about who has built enough revenue streams to survive the years when they aren't. Climbing to number 12 is the actress who turned a legally blonde law student into a media empire. Reese Witherspoon built her name on box office comedies and prestige dramas, Legally Blonde, Walk the Line, and then did something most of her peers never attempted. She built a production company from scratch and sold it for nearly $1 billion. In 2021, Witherspoon sold a majority stake in her production company, Hello Sunshine, for a staggering $900 million. That single deal reshaped her entire financial picture, moving her from successful actress into a completely different wealth bracket. And she didn't sell everything. The star still owns an 18% stake in the firm, which is behind TV shows like Big Little Lies and Little Fires Everywhere, meaning she continues to collect on a business she no longer has to run day to day. On top of that ownership stake, Witherspoon never stepped away from acting. Famous for roles in movies like Legally Blonde and Walk the Line, she's also found success on the small screen starring in the Apple TV Plus series, The Morning Show, where she takes home over $2 million per episode. That's a TV salary most film stars would envy, and it's stacked on top of an ownership payday most producers never get close to. Put the acting income and the Hello Sunshine sale together, and Witherspoon's total net worth comes in at $440 million heading into 2026. Her story is arguably the cleanest example on this entire list of an actress who looked at the traditional Hollywood pay structure, decided it had a ceiling, and built her own company instead of waiting for someone else to hand her a bigger role. It's why she edges out Gibson and Stallone for the number 12 spot. At number 11 is a star whose wealth was built across more countries and more markets than almost anyone else on this list. Jackie Chan didn't start in Hollywood at all. He first broke into the film industry with a series of leading roles in Hong Kong action comedy films, before transitioning into Hollywood, starring in the Rush Hour and Kung Fu Panda franchises, as well as Karate Kid. That dual-market career is exactly what set his finances apart from stars who only ever earned in one currency and one box office system. Chan was one of the highest-paid actors in the world for a long time, and crucially, he was able to cash in on multiple markets. Rush Hour made him a crossover star in the West, while his decades of Hong Kong and mainland Chinese films kept a separate, massive income stream flowing at the same time. Very few actors on any rich list have managed to be genuinely A-list on two continents simultaneously. Beyond the screen, Chan diversified the same way we've seen other names on this list do. He's also a frequent endorser of products and owns his own chain of movie theaters, which means he profits both from making movies and from the venues where audiences watch them. That's a rare, closed-loop business model in entertainment. There's also a philanthropic wrinkle to his story that makes his current fortune notable. He has said in the past that he aims to donate all of his riches to charity before he dies, a pledge that hasn't stopped his wealth from growing in the meantime. Estimates place Chan's net worth around $557 million to $600 million heading into 2026, built brick by brick across two film industries, endorsement deals, and his own theater chain. A genuinely global fortune that earns him the number 11 spot. Cracking the top 10 is a star whose reputation for talent and reliability has quietly translated into one of the steadiest fortunes in the industry. Tom Hanks isn't chasing headlines for controversy or comebacks. His name recognition has simply stayed strong through Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Cast Away, and a string of box office hits that spanned 5 decades. Tom Hanks isn't just one of the best actors in recent memory. He's also one of the richest, and part of that comes from a run of awards success early in his career that boosted his asking price for every project that followed. The winner of 2 consecutive Best Actor Oscars for his roles in Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, commercial and critical success, have followed Hanks throughout his career. What makes Hanks different from a lot of actors his age is that he never really had a comeback arc. There was no dip in relevance to recover from. He kept working steadily in big studio films, animated voice work through the Toy Story franchise, and prestige dramas that both won awards and made money. That consistency, decade after decade, is exactly the kind of career that compounds into serious long-term wealth, even without a single billion-dollar business sale attached to his name. Unlike some entries on this list, Hanks built his fortune almost entirely the traditional way: acting fees, box office bonuses, and decades of being one of the most trusted names you could put on a movie poster. By 2026, that steady hit-after-hit career has left him with an estimated net worth of $571 million, edging him just past Jackie Chan and into the top 10. It's proof that you don't always need a side business to get rich in this industry. Sometimes just being the most dependable name in the room for 50 straight years is enough. Number 9 on our countdown is one of the most decorated actors in American film history. A man whose career spanned more than half a century before he largely stepped away from the spotlight, Jack Nicholson made his name through unforgettable, often unhinged performances. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, Chinatown, A Few Good Men, the kind of filmography that turned him into a template for what a leading man could be. John Joseph Nicholson is an American retired actor and filmmaker whose career spanned more than 50 years. That longevity matters because it means Nicholson's earnings weren't concentrated in one hot decade. He was commanding top-dollar salaries across the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, a run few actors have matched. Nicholson was also famous in the industry for a particular negotiating tactic that ended up making him significantly richer than a flat salary ever could have. Rather than always taking the biggest guaranteed check, he frequently opted for back-end percentage deals on the box office. Most notably on Batman, where his cut of the profits reportedly made him one of the highest-paid actors in movie history for a single role. That willingness to bet on a film's success over a guaranteed number is part of the same strategy we keep seeing pay off across this entire list. Since largely retiring from acting, Nicholson has kept a low public profile, but his fortune has continued to be maintained by real estate holdings and the residual value of a filmography that still generates royalties decades later. As of 2026, that combination of legendary box office deals and smart long-term holdings has left Nicholson with an estimated net worth of $590 million, just enough to edge past Tom Hanks and claim the number 9 spot on this countdown. Landing at number 8 is one of the most bankable leading men of the last 3 decades, whose fortune comes from a mix of acting paychecks and a production company that's quietly become one of the most respected in the business. Brad Pitt's filmography reads like a highlight reel of prestige and box office success at the same time. Fight Club, Ocean's 11, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and a Best Supporting Actor Oscar along the way. What separates Pitt from a pure movie star is Plan B Entertainment, the production company he co-founded that has backed films winning multiple Best Picture Oscars. Owning a stake in a production house that produces award-winning, profitable films means Pitt earns money on projects even when he isn't the one in front of the camera. The same ownership model that keeps showing up again and again among the wealthiest names in this industry. Pitt has also leaned into brand deals in a way that surprised some observers, most notably becoming the face of a major fragrance campaign and lending his name to other luxury partnerships that pay flat endorsement fees completely separate from any movie paycheck. Combined with his decades of leading man salaries and the ongoing value of his production slate, that diversification has kept his wealth climbing even in years when he wasn't headlining a blockbuster. All told, Pitt's net worth is estimated at $594 million heading into 2026, putting him just ahead of Jack Nicholson for the number 8 spot. It's a fortune built the way most of Hollywood's upper tier gets built now, acting money as the base. Then ownership and endorsements stacked on top to push the number into truly elite territory. At number 7 is arguably the most respected dramatic actor of his generation, a 2-time Oscar winner whose fortune tells a story about betting on food instead of just film. Arguably the most talented actor of his generation, Robert De Niro has bagged 2 Oscars for his roles in Raging Bull and The Godfather Part 2. And he's also managed to profit from his acting skills with a fortune estimated at $500 million. But the acting fees are only half the story. De Niro looked outside the film industry entirely and found one of the most lucrative side businesses of anyone on this list. Like many others on this list, Robert De Niro didn't put all his eggs in one basket and found other sources of revenue. He's the co-founder of the high-end sushi chain Nobu, which has more than 40 locations around the world and generates millions every year. That restaurant empire didn't stop at sushi. He also owns a slew of other restaurants and properties primarily in New York City, one of the most expensive real estate markets on the planet. Between the Nobu chain's global footprint and a New York property portfolio, De Niro built an entire second career in hospitality that runs completely parallel to his acting work, generating income whether or not he's currently shooting a film. That combination of decades of prestige acting fees and a genuinely massive restaurant and property business has pushed some estimates of De Niro's fortune as high as $735 million in 2026, depending on how his business holdings are valued. Either figure puts him solidly in the top 10 of this list, and it's a case study in how an actor with zero interest in tequila or production studios can still build a fortune rivaling anyone in the industry. He just picked sushi instead. Number 6 belongs to the actor who may have pulled off the single biggest non-acting payday on this entire list. George Clooney spent decades as one of the most recognizable leading men in Hollywood. Ocean's 11, Michael Clayton Gravity, commanding enormous salaries for every role. But it's a tequila brand, not a movie, that transformed his net worth. George Clooney dramatically increased his wealth through the sale of Casamigos tequila, which sold for up to $1 billion. That deal alone reportedly netted Clooney hundreds of millions personally, instantly making it one of the most lucrative side ventures any actor has ever pulled off. George Clooney's $1 billion Casamigos tequila sale stands as the single greatest non-acting financial move by any actor on this entire list. What makes the Casamigos story stand out is how casually it started. Clooney has routinely raked in millions for major roles, but he also used to co-own the successful Casamigos tequila brand before selling it for close to $1 billion. A brand that reportedly began as a project among friends rather than a calculated business empire. That's a very different origin story from Dwayne Johnson's tequila brand or Tyler Perry's studio. Clooney essentially stumbled into one of the most valuable celebrity liquor deals in history. Combine the Casamigos windfall with 3 decades of A-list acting fees, producing credits, and directing work, and Clooney's total fortune lands at an estimated $742 million heading into 2026. It's enough to put him just ahead of Robert De Niro. And it's a reminder that sometimes the biggest payday of an actor's career has nothing to do with a movie at all. At number 5 is the man who went from professional wrestling to arguably the most bankable action star on the planet, and who's now closer than ever to joining the billionaire club. Originally famous as a professional wrestler, Dwayne Johnson successfully transitioned into Hollywood and became a global box office star. That transition is one of the most complete career reinventions in entertainment history. From WWE champion to the face of the Fast and Furious and Jumanji franchises. Dwayne Johnson is not yet a billionaire, with a current net worth estimated at $800 million. But his tequila brand is doing a lot of the heavy lifting to close that gap. Alongside blockbuster films, he owns approximately 30% of Teremana Tequila, a brand valued at around $2 billion. That stake alone represents hundreds of millions of dollars sitting on top of his acting income, and it's growing fast. His 30% stake in Teremana Tequila could push him past $1 billion by 2027, according to industry estimates, which would make him one of the fastest actors in history to cross into billionaire territory almost entirely off a beverage brand rather than his film salary. Johnson's tequila company has grown rapidly and could eventually push his net worth toward billionaire status. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has fully cemented his status as a global entertainment brand, and his marketability, business ventures, and relentless work ethic have turned him into one of the wealthiest entertainers on the planet. Some more recent estimates already place him as high as $1.19 billion, depending on how his Teremana stake is valued, which would put him even higher on this list. Either way, Johnson is closer to the top of Hollywood's wealth ranking than almost anyone would have guessed when he was still wrestling under the ropes. Number 4 is the one actor on this entire list who built almost his entire fortune the old-fashioned way, by acting. And by acting better at negotiating back-end deals than anyone else in the business. Tom Cruise stands out as one of the few actors who built the majority of his fortune almost entirely through acting, with the Mission, Impossible, and Top Gun franchises making him one of the highest-paid stars in Hollywood history. Cruise's negotiating strategy has become legendary in the industry. He is known for negotiating profit-sharing deals rather than relying solely on salary. And profit participation in the Mission Impossible series has earned Cruise hundreds of millions. That structure means every time one of his films crosses a major box office threshold, his payday multiplies rather than staying flat. Top Gun: Maverick became the clearest example of that strategy paying off. Tom Cruise reportedly earned over $100 million from Top Gun: Maverick, alone through his back-end profit-sharing arrangement as both star and producer on the $1.4 billion global hit. That's a single-film payday most actors will never see in their entire careers, and Cruise pulled it off on a movie he'd already been closely associated with for decades. His per-word earnings have become something of a running statistic in entertainment media, too. A 2020 study even estimated that he's earned $7,000 per word of dialogue across his various films, and in light of recent box office successes, that number has likely climbed even higher. Tom Cruise reportedly earned over $100 million from Top Gun: Maverick through his back-end deal, a figure that alone rivals what most stars make across several films combined. Cruise also invested that acting income into property, owning real estate on both the east and west coast of the USA, as well as around North America. By 2026, all of that, the franchises, the back-end percentages, and the property, has left Cruise with an estimated net worth of $891 million, making him the closest pure actor on this list to billionaire status. Number 3 brings us into billionaire territory, and it belongs to a comedian whose sitcom deal turned out to be one of the smartest financial decisions in television history. Jerry Seinfeld is remembered as a stand-up comic and sitcom star first, but the structure of the deal he signed decades ago is what actually made him one of the richest entertainers alive. Jerry Seinfeld sits among the billionaire actors at an estimated $1.1 billion. The mechanism behind that fortune is remarkably simple compared to tequila brands or production company sales. Seinfeld collects 15% of syndication from his namesake sitcom, a show that has run in syndication continuously since it ended, generating revenue every single day for over 2 decades without Seinfeld having to do anything new. That's the key lesson behind his fortune. The key to billionaire actor status is ownership, and Seinfeld secured a piece of his show's long-term earnings rather than just taking a salary for each episode when it originally aired. Every rerun, every streaming license, every syndication deal signed since the finale has continued to pay him. Some more conservative estimates put his fortune lower, around $900 million, reflecting how wide these valuations can swing depending on how syndication royalties are calculated year to year. Either figure places Seinfeld in an extremely rare tier, a performer who essentially built a royalty machine out of a single TV show and has been collecting on it for over 25 years. It's a completely different model from most of the actors on this list, and it's exactly why he sits at number 3, just behind 2 names whose fortunes dwarf even a hit sitcom's syndication check. At number 2 is a man whose career spans bodybuilding, blockbuster action films, and the governor's office of California, and whose fortune actually has very little to do with any of those jobs. Arnold Schwarzenegger tops many lists as the richest actor in the world in 2026. And while his legendary film career laid the foundation, his true wealth was built through early and aggressive investments in real estate. Schwarzenegger's acting career alone would have made him wealthy by most standards. One of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood history, the former California governor has earned some $500 million before taxes and fees in paychecks and profit-sharing deals from his movies. The Terminator and Predator franchises alone made him one of the defining action stars of his era, commanding some of the biggest paychecks in the industry during the 80s and 90s. But it's what he did with that money that separates him from most actors of his generation. He's made even more from early bets on everything from California real estate to some of the world's most valuable brands. Schwarzenegger invested early in Google, a bet that turned out to be one of the most consequential financial decisions any actor has ever made, given how that stock has performed in the decades since. Different rankings place his current fortune anywhere between $850 million and roughly $1.49 billion, depending on how his real estate holdings and equity stakes are valued year to year. A wide range that reflects just how much of his wealth sits in assets rather than cash. Either way, Arnold Schwarzenegger ranks among the top billionaire-tier actors at an estimated $1.1 billion by several measures, and it's a fortune built on the same principle that runs through this entire list. Ownership beats salary, and Schwarzenegger figured that out decades before most of his peers. And that brings us to number 1, the richest actor in Hollywood in 2026. And it isn't a wrestler-turned-movie star or an action legend with a tequila brand. Tyler Perry is the richest actor in Hollywood with a net worth of $1.4 billion, according to Forbes, with his wealth coming from 100% ownership of Tyler Perry Studios and the Madea franchise. What separates Perry from literally everyone else on this list is the word 100%. Every other name we've covered today owns a stake, a tequila percentage, a syndication royalty, a share of a sold company. Perry owns the entire operation outright. Tyler Perry leads the list with an estimated net worth of $1.4 billion, making him not only the richest actor in the world, but also the wealthiest African-American entertainer in history. The scale of what he built is staggering on its own terms. Tyler Perry Studios sits on hundreds of acres, a physical, self-contained production facility that Perry doesn't rent from anyone. He built it. He owns the land, and every production that shoots there generates revenue that flows directly back to him instead of a third-party studio. That's a fundamentally different business model from every actor who simply collects a paycheck for showing up on someone else's lot. The Madea franchise alone has been one of the most reliable, low-cost, high-return film series in modern Hollywood history. Movies made on modest budgets that consistently outperform expectations at the box office. Because Perry controls every part of the production and distribution chain, Tyler Perry outturns Tom Cruise. And it isn't particularly close once you account for how much of Cruise's fortune depends on splitting profits with major studios, while Perry keeps his revenue in-house. And for context on just how differently modern Hollywood wealth is being built now compared to a decade ago, Adam Sandler's Netflix deal alone created more wealth than most theatrical careers combined. A reminder that even outside our top spot, the entertainers pulling ahead in this business are the ones who negotiated ownership and long-term deals rather than one-off appearance fees. The traditional Hollywood salary model, even $20 million per picture, rarely creates billionaire wealth on its own. Building a billion-dollar fortune requires back-end participation, equity ownership, and diversified investments. And Perry represents the purest version of that formula anyone in the industry has managed to pull off. So heading into the rest of 2026, Tyler Perry sits at the very top of Hollywood's wealth ranking, ahead of action stars, comedians, tequila moguls, and sitcom royalty alike, not because he made the biggest movie, but because he never let anyone else own a piece of what he built.